welcome back. Today we're going to be tying a white woolly bugger. I like to call this the crystal white, but essentially it's just a straight woolly bugger, a little bit different. We're not going to be using as much hackle, but a great steelhead pattern. And we're going to be tying this on the new Togens salmon steelhead hook. This is the stainless steel, and this is a straight hook eye, which is pretty phenomenal. This is a size 6, and this is accompanied by a 3.8 millimeter silver tungsten bead to give it some added weight. We could add some more lead wire to make this drop a little bit more heavy, but this one in particular, we're going to go with no weighted wire, as I do want it to drift a little bit higher in the water columns. And for my thread, I'm just going to be using some white 8/0. As always, we'll be sure to leave a description of all the materials used in the recipe in the description of the video below. So be sure to check that out. I think it takes you to a dedicated page on the Togens Fly Shop website, which is a great little resource, great little tool. So if you haven't checked those fly tying tutorials out on their blog, be sure to check them out. I'll leave a link for that as well. So to get this started, I mean, just like kind of any other woolly bugger pattern, you just want to lay down a nice little thread base. Doesn't have to be perfect, because the way we're actually going to be dubbing on this body is a little bit different than your typical bugger. Right, so I'm just going to stop there right before the bend of the hook. And now the first step we're going to do is just grab a nice piece of marabou. I'm probably going to be doing a separate video on my own channel just on the selection of marabou, specifically for woolly buggers in the tail, different ways to tie them, and just making sure you pick the right one, right? Even in a full pack of some of the best stuff, whether it's Nature Spirits or Wapsi, not all feathers are the same. So just make sure you pick a nice one. And then, I mean, again, I'll have probably a separate video for that. So pick your nice bugger, give it a quick measurement. And these can be long as you want or as short as you want. I typically like them roughly about the length of the hook shank. And then with a nice little pinch wrap, we can lock that on top. So I'll do 2, and then just do a quick measurement to see if it's kind of where I like. That's not bad there. In this case, I am going to use the full stem and tie it directly onto the hook shank. People do this method for a variety of reasons. I don't do them on all my woolly bugger patterns, but I would say the majority. And the reason why I do it on the majority is, like most flies, the tail is what will get bit first by the fish. So kind of the longer you're fishing this pattern, the more it gets bit and pulled. So anything we can do to strengthen it, and by tying the whole stem across the shank, I think it only helps with the durability of the fly. So now I'm just going to nip off this tag end. Got a little too close to the bead there, but not going to harm it too much. And then next I'm going to tie on some ribbing. For that, it's just some small silver soft wire. Just going to unravel a piece here. And again, like all my patterns, I try to keep a consistent foundation for any future materials. So I'm just tuck that into the bead, and I'm tying it along the near side of the hook shank here. so you can't really see it, but that's what it looks like there. And you could add some flash to this. Typically, if I were to add flash, again, I mix it up, right? I won't just tie the same woolly bugger with the exact same materials and the exact same methodology. I mean, I'll never have 12 of the same white woolly bugger. I may have 3 one style, 3 tied a different style, 3 with a different hackle. Again, mix it up. Having a variety of things in your box will only help you. But I've tied other woolly buggers where I will actually put on a strip of uni mylar. So you can do that in. You can tie that in now or tie it in before the ribbing optimally, but you can do that as well. Or some Flashabou. This particular pattern, I've opted not to, simply because of what we're going to do next with the body. It's not going to be chenille. We're actually just going to be using some of this oyster pearl dubbing. You can dub this on with a noodle. You could do a quick little dubbing loop, because once this stuff starts to come out, it really starts to taper into the tail itself. So that's why I opted for no flash on this pattern. But for this one, I am going to do a dubbing loop. Okay, I'm just going to bring my thread forward, a little bit out of my way. And I'm just going to keep this off to the side for now, while I prep the prism dubbing. Okay, so we got our dubbing loop, and we're just going to add a little bit of wax just to help keep this dubbing in place. And I'm just kind of getting it in the loop right now. I'm going to spread this out and get it the way I want to in a bit. You do want quite a bit. We can always trim that or cut the dubbing loop shorter if we need to later. And here's a tip. Try not to get any wax on your fingers, because that just makes handling any materials a big pain. Okay, so I think I got enough on here, but I'm just going to, again, I'm going to play with it, spread it out, and I'm going to add some thickness to the middle, in hopes that when I get to the middle of the fly, that it kind of bulks up a bit to give it a little bit more of that teardrop shape. So I'm just spreading it out before I spin it and trying to add more to the middle. Okay, so now we're going to give this a little spin. Sure you don't get any of that marabou trapped in there. And now I'm just going to pick out any trapped fibers. Right, so you can see sort of how long they are, and that's why I didn't really think I needed the flash on the tail. If you have a rotary vise, you can go ahead and use that. Um, I'm not going to use my rotary function just because I know not everybody has one. So I'll do this manually. And then like you would, like with Schlappen material, you kind of want to just preen these back as you're wrapping. So as you can see with every wrap, I'm just with my other hand just sweeping them back. A lot of this will be brushed out. So there's some loose fibers in there. That's okay. Then as I get to the middle here, I'm gonna really make sure these are pressed down really tight together to give it that sort of bulkiness near the middle. So I can preen this back. Okay, now we're gonna lock that off. I could have used a little bit more, but we'll make it work. We're still gonna add some hackle to this. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure these are it's really locked into place. And now with your ribbing, the soft wire we tied on, I'm going to counter wrap this just to make it, just to add some durability. And this does take some tinkering and playing with, you know, weaving in and out, taking out those fibers. Making sure you don't get too many of them trapped. But you can do some pretty wide spiral wraps with this. It doesn't need to be tight. So you can see I did about 3 or 4 there, if I can count. I'm gonna helicopter this off. Can just lock those out. So now that this is completely locked down, I'm going to brush out some of these fibers, these trapped ones. Give this fly a little bit more volume. Now when all of these are swept back and wet, you're going to see how it all kind of blends and meshes together. It almost becomes like a little mini bait fish. But because steelhead are steelhead, they like anything flashy, pink, red. We're gonna add some hackle. This is just a grizzly hackle in red. And I like this for the added color. 2 wraps in front, or in 2 wraps behind, almost like a figure 8. Make sure I get that stem and then cut out any excess stem. Okay, so now we're going to start wrapping. I want these nice, close and tight together. And the purpose for this is not only does it give it a nice hot spot to a pretty bland and white bugger, but it also helps push some water. Okay, I'm just going to sweep that back. I'm going to build a little collar with the white thread, which will also push back the hackle fibers. There we go. Now ready for a whip finish. Drop a head cement. This thing, another little brush. There you have it. This is the Crystal White Woolly Bugger. I haven't used it for anything else literally other than steelhead. So that's the only thing I can kind of speak to it on. But yeah, I hope you give it a try. I hope you enjoyed it. And best of luck on the water. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.